you one of the apps that I've created. This is probably the premier app. It's kind of what I started with. And I've just kind of kept building on it and building on it until it just kind of did everything that I was looking for it to do. I would ask students and other teachers what kind of things that they thought that they would like, and they continued to give me ideas, and I kept adding on to it. So first of all, as you come in here, you can see on the intro page, I actually had to have authorization to even get this page up here. And so it has a password, an email kind of password login, and also has a, an actual access code that needs to be entered in order to get into the screen that you would typically have. So students aren't going to be able to go and just enter in. You'll notice that it just has a website up here, but it is secured not just through normal means, but this is also through authorization, through OAuth, and through Firebase, and as far as I can tell, it's as secure as it can be. So this is the page that you would see as you walk into the classroom as a student. Now you can see a couple things on here. Obviously, we have an introduction. Today is Wednesday, July 22nd, and this auto updates every time I open it up on a new day or hit refresh if it's a new day. You can see I've got like a little World Brain Day, and it was Gregor Mendel's birthday in 1822. So some sort of fun science fact, and if you were another teacher, you could put a history fact in there or an English fact, whatever you wanted to do, just something fun for the kids to see as they enter into the room. The thing that you're looking at here is the layout of my room. So my room has a configuration which is a little bit odd here. But what I did with it is I created kind of a periodic table out of my desk. So each of these things are representing a desk, and the ones that are colored in are students. The ones that are kind of faded out don't have students in them. And as they come in and I see who's there, I can mark people that are present, and those people that are present, would then get called on when I hit a particular button over here. If they're not present, then I won't call on them. And so I can take attendance this way. I do not have this exporting to like Infinite Campus or anything like that. So this is just kind of like a personal in-class reminder of who's present, but it is mostly for me to make sure I am calling on students that are going to be in the class, and I don't accidentally call on somebody who's absent. So a couple things about this as we go through. You can see that I can select my different periods up here, and it will choose the different periods and the different seating assignments for each of those periods. As I am looking at the seating assignments, it's something kind of cool to look at what I built into this. And you can obviously move any particular student to any particular other desk if you just click on that move student. I want to move this person here, and it just moves them. So you click on them and you move them there. It's pretty easy. You can do that anywhere. It doesn't have to be to an open desk. You could swap a couple people from across the room. It's a pretty easy way to move students. Now, the thing that I love the most is this auto seat button. Love the most about the seating part. But what I can do is I can create a rule set. And so this to me is fantastic. I can choose a particular student. And here we have numbers. These numbers are representing students, and they're basically element numbers that kind of are associated with the pictures that I have there on the desk. And then I can choose rules. I can say, all right, I want this student to be close to the front or close to the back or away from another student or near another student or near an aisle. I have these rules that I can add. And so when I've added all those rules, then I hit the auto seat button, it shuffles everybody around according to those rules. Now, one of the things you might notice is that I have it set up automatically to try to create a system of support for students that are having lower participation points. So here you notice this student has a lower participation point value here. That's what's in the green circle. And they are surrounded with all students that have higher numbers than them. So it follows those rules that I just made, those exception rules, but it also tries to make sure that there is a supporting network of students around the student that might have lower participation points. Of course, I can undo any of those changes that I might have made and kind of get everybody back. So that brings us back to our pictures here. One of the things about these pictures is those pictures represent elements. This whole setup is a periodic table. I've got my alkali metals over here, my halogens over here. But any teacher could choose various different fun pictures so that they could use those pictures to call on students if they wanted to. I have an anonymous mode, which I click to when I'm doing recordings. And so I just call on students by way of their elements. And so it's kind of a fun way. Each of my desks has a little picture on it. And so when I change seats, I can just say, hey, go look for that new picture that you just got, and they can find their seats pretty quickly and easily. Now let's look at what I can do here. I have participation points. I can make a participation report. I can manage my roster. I can back up all of my data. I can restore that data if something gets messed up. I can look at my seat log and how I've been changing my seats. And I have a really neat feature, which is back of the room and front of the room, which I can kind of use when I'm putting in my grades. And so I'm going to go through each of these features now and show you what those are like bit by bit. So the student that I might call on, then let's say they get the question correct. What I usually do is if they get the question correct, I give them a sleigh and they get a little tone. If you want to shut off the sounds, you can click that little button up there and that will shut off the sounds. But if they just at least give me a guess, then I will give them a big up. They might not get the question right, but they've at least tried. And so I want to give them participation points. Now, what's going to happen is, if I select a student here in my classroom, I can also, if it wasn't the one that was called on, I can actually click on their desk, and that will actually then allow me to give that particular student's points, and then their point values will upgrade right there live as I'm doing it. If they just give me a great insight, I usually give them some fire. Oh, and I do have, while I'm doing that, you can see I have a streak protection. What I did this for is I wanted to make sure that, maybe I forgot maybe to actually click on another student or something. And so I was giving the wrong student the points. If I kept giving the wrong student the points, like I was calling in different people, but not actually checking on their boxes, it would give me this warning. Hey, are you sure you mean to award this student the same points over and over and over again? And so if so, then I'll be, yeah. So then I have another animation that kind of gets more exciting for fire, right? It's like, yeah, you've done it. I also have a button here, and I don't use this very often. This is usually for behavioral issues. If I have a student that is doing something they shouldn't be doing, I will tell them sometimes that they're going to be scuffed. And so I will scuff them. It's not for, guessing wrong or anything like that. If I see great participation from a lot of people for something that we've just done, maybe a catalyst or something where we did, bell work, I might give everybody in the entire class some points, and so that gives everybody in the class 1 point. You can also go through and give groups the chance to answer questions. So it's going to choose a couple students from whatever selection it wants to make. In this case, if it's trying to choose balance groups typically for everything that I do. So one student might have higher points, one student might have lower points. And then if they together can get the right point, then I'll give them those points. And so that's another way to kind of award points. If you accidentally do something that you don't mean to do, you can always hit the undo button. It goes through and will remember about, I think, 10 different or 20 different events, and it will delete all of those as you go through the undo button. And this one is, in fact, something that I oftentimes check. You'll notice how this has a little running tally of what were the last events that I did. Sometimes if I've stepped out of the room into the hall as I'm letting students come in and I've left this up on the board, somebody might choose their own name and give themselves points because they're being silly. I can come in and see all the points to give them, and I can just go back through and hit undo, undo, undo. So that's kind of a thing that I do sometimes. Couple other things to take note of while we're up on this part of the classroom is that you can create participation reports. So you can basically figure out what the level of participation is between various, all the different students, how much they're participating. And you can kind of create a report week to week and see what it is that they are doing in terms of their participation. And so that's a pretty neat thing to be able to look at. You'll notice that I do have Google Classroom integration. It was saying I was not signed into Google Classroom. So you can go through and sign into Google Classroom, and it will connect you with your classroom. And then you can do things like export your participation report, for instance. I can also manage my roster. And so I can change my seats if I want to move somebody from one place to another. If I want to, basically take them off of the roster, I can hit the X button. If I want to choose an empty desk seat to put somebody in, I can add students in to various places as well and save that. And I can reset all the seats. One of the things that's very, very exciting for me is our auto seat function. And obviously, if I want to move a student, you can kind of see I have the ability to click on a student and then move them to a new place. But the auto seat function is a lot of fun. It will automatically sort all the kids into a different arrangement. But one of the things that it tries to do is it tries to arrange the students into places where they will have students of higher participation points around them typically. Okay, so you might not be able to see it here in every situation, but you can kind of see, let's say maybe we have this student here who has low participation points. You'll notice that he is kind of an island of low participation points where everybody else has participation points greater than he does. And you can also create rules for certain students. You can select a student and say, hey, I want that student to be close to the front, close to the back, away from another student, near another student, near the aisle. Okay, you can have rules that you can add to it in order to create a set of rules for your entire class to be ordered by. And so when I hit that auto seat function, it's paying attention to all these rules. It's going to try to make sure that 51 is close to the front along with 116, 49, and 83, because those might be my more talkative students. And so they're trying to work those to the front. Now, you can't quite tell which students those are because those students are with names here, but those are the element names. And so for me, I know, the elements and the numbers that are associated with these. And so I can be like, oh, well, 82 is this symbol, even though you might not know that. That's something that I have kind of memorized. And of course, you can undo things. You can always back up points, and I think that's important. It saves a time-stamped backup of all your students to the server. And speaking of which, all of this data is stored, including all your student names, and student scores. They're all saved on a secure server. It's a Firebase server, which is a Google database, and all of that stuff is stored there. And it requires, proper authorization to get into that. So all of the data is stored safely and not accessible. And while I'm not an expert, and this has not been, vetted yet by Jeffco, I can tell you that what I've done so far has tried to make sure that this is all FERPA. It's satisfying all of those guidelines. You can restore points if you have some sort of a glitch in the system and something goes wrong. It's going to go back to the backup that you made, and it's going to restore all those points, so you don't have to have everything start over at zero. Had that happen at one point a long time ago. Seat log just kind of gives you an idea of how you've been moving seats, etc. This is a neat tool. Now, when I go through and I grade things in class, I will move up one row and then down another row. But it gets very confusing if I'm holding a tablet, is that if I go up one row and then come down the next row, I'm suddenly, everything is flipped. And so what I get to do is when I get to the back of the room, I click this button and that flips everything. So now as I walk back over, okay, I'm walking from the back, I can see, oh, well, this is the order. So now this is the front of the room and this is the back room. And when I get to the front of the room, I flip it again. And so I'm now like, okay, let me go back to the front of the room. And so this really helps me in my orientation as I'm walking around the room. So it's a pretty neat thing to do. Okay, another cool thing while I'm up here, I'm showing you some of the features, is our assignment feature, okay? Now, what you can do is you can have the assignments up on the board as the students come into the classroom. So maybe they see this, or maybe they see their assignments. Now, the cool thing about the assignments is that you can either add them individually for the day, or you can choose a PDF, okay? And so once you choose a PDF, then that PDF will upload and it will read it. It uses the AI to read all of that information, and then it creates an assignment task for you from my calendar. And it is one of the coolest things that I have put into implementation. So I'm going to go ahead and try and show that to you. Show you the assignment creator. This is a sandbox versions that I have just created to show you a few features. I want to allow this sandbox version to be something that teachers could use and play with the program and see how it operates. So we will go through here and see how that works. But first of all, you can see I've got a class chosen. You need to kind of have a class chosen. And it's going to save them to both first and second period, since those are my two physical science classes. I get to go in and choose a PDF. So I choose a PDF of my calendar. So that's like a written out kind of version of a calendar. And I'm going to now click the Parse with Claude button, and that's going to send it to the AI, and the AI is going to go through, find all the assignments, find all the dates, and now put them up. Now what it's done is it found 13 assignments, and it allows me to now review those assignments, right? So I've got reading notes, okay, a lab, all these different things. You'll notice that it put dates on them as well, right? So it found the dates and found the assignments, and it now has all of these, and it says, okay, you can review and edit these. If you want to, change them and get rid of them, you can discard certain ones or change their names, right? So it gives you a chance to change the dates and the names if you want to mess with it a little bit and make it current, or if you have to change a calendar or something like that. And then when you hit save, what it's going to do is it's going to post all of those in here. Now, right now, they're all past due because this was a 2025 calendar, and I didn't change the dates on them. And so it's just scratching them all out, saying all those things were already due at the time. And, if you ever have something where you want to go through and change things, then you can. And let's say I wanted to, make this an assignment that was due today. Now you can see what it would look like in terms of, hey, it's red. And the way the assignments come up, I actually have it coded to turn different colors, so that if you have an assignment that is due like in a few days, let's say it's going to be due in like on the 30th or something, then you'll notice here that it is not red. So it's like, hey guys, this is due really quick. Then I've got some, yellow or orange that also kind of, go for days that are due soon, right? So let's go with another one of those assignments. And let me make it due like tomorrow. Oops, wrong one. And so we'll say, okay, hey, this one is due tomorrow. And I think you'll see that the color is an orange now, right? So as the students walk in the room and if they wanted to look up on the board to see what might be due, they could have a little reminder of all of these. Now, again, once I actually have the right dates put in, like all of these would have automatically shown up like this. But now because they're all done already, then they have been crossed out. You can also add assignments. Okay, so if you wanted to add a new assignment, you could do so there. And then this is the cool part. Once you have all those assignments in, then you can take all of those assignments that came from your written printed out sheet, right, your PDF that you had stored, and then you can export it to Classroom. So now this would go in. Of course, I would sign into Classroom, which is not going to work at this point in the sandbox, right? But then it will let all of these things, you load your courses in, like, well, here's my physical science class. You choose that, and you post to Classroom, and everything will show up in Classroom like magic. And so now you have all of your assignments posted in Classroom, and they will match the assignments that you have in here. So it's a pretty neat thing. If you do make changes, then you probably would need to go back and make changes in Classroom as well. I don't have it so that it syncs up those two, but any change you make here, also make that change in Classroom. But it's a great for a first-time import of all the information that you're trying to store. This Start Classroom task button. Now I'm going to go over this on another demo. You can look at the demo for the task tracker. But I just wanted to kind of talk about this briefly here, and then you can see how it works on that other demo. This is for if you want to have your students working together on a particular project in class, and you want to kind of keep them focused and on task. You can start a particular task name here, and it's going to generate a link. And so let's say test review or something that you wanted to work on. It's going to generate a link, which then you would share on the screen, either with a on focus track, which is going to basically create this link for you, project it on the screen, and then the students would be able to connect to that. And then they will begin working together. And it's basically a timer that says, hey guys, you need to be working right now. This is not a time to goof off. And we'll explain that a little bit more. It's really great for those students that have a little bit difficulty in focusing. They will be redrawn back to their task repeatedly. So we'll talk about that more on that other demo. Okay, so let's continue on and let's talk about some other features that we have. One of the things that I want to bring out here is I have what has been built into the page as an iframe. And this is something that allows you to change kind of what you want to have seen by the students. You can have a quote of the day. You can have a daily fact of some particular thing, history fact. In my case, it's chemistry facts. And you just pull those in from the web. And you can have a catalyst that comes up, which is basically, for me, it's what I have my students do their bell work. And so I can have a catalyst of the day starting up there. I actually created my own little survey. You can create surveys using your app's script, in Google. And so now they'll fill out a survey, and then I'll be able to see like which GimKit game they want to play, and then we can see which game that particular class is playing for the day. So that's fun. They get to vote on it on their machines. And then we have a whiteboard feature. And so this whiteboard feature allows for us to do diagrams, and you can save the diagrams. You can actually record all of the stuff that you're drawing. If you're a math teacher, whatever you like to draw on a tablet, you can do all of your drawings here, and you can record that. So that's a fun feature that's kind of integrated in here. And then I also have my lectures that I can pull up. Now, again, all of these features I'll go into in greater detail as far as the whiteboard and the classroom presenter in other demos. But for right now, you can kind of see some of these things that are integrated right on that same page that you have your attendance, that you do your participation points on. You can just you don't have to leave, go to your computer, open things up. Everything is going to be accessible right from where you are, and you can pull things up and start lecturing right away without having to transition to something different. So it's a really great tool for those of you that like to teach with a PowerPoint or Google slide presentation. It's integrated right into the stuff that you're already doing. Okay, other features that, and again, like I said, I'll go into that more detail on another demo. Other features, you can see we have a little leaderboard here, and I think that's a feature that's a lot of fun. The students are definitely, engaged in the leaderboard. They want to see where they are. They ask me sometimes, "Hey, can I see where I am? I want to see if I'm on the leaderboard." And so, they want to know if they're, in that top group, and it's a lot of fun. To see that they care about the participation points, and how they're doing in class. I have a timer. And so the timer is something that will show up. And of course, you can set it to whatever time you want. But anytime we want to do something in class and I say, hey, you guys need a timer for this, then they can look up on the board and they can see the timer. I can increase it or decrease the timer. And this timer can actually sync with the tablet. Like if you're carrying around a tablet, it will be in sync with the tablet that you have as well. So you can kind of see it on your tablet as well as on the board. Or if you don't want to show that, you don't have to show that either. It minimizes, so we've got a smaller thing. If you want to continue to teach or do some other activity on the board, it will be in a minimized form also for you to look at it there. So yeah, it's just nice to just have a quick timer, really quickly and easily available for you to use in the class. And then the swap mode, this is just a stopwatch versus a countdown. So you can also do it as a stopwatch. Okay, then continuing here, we notice we have this thing that says groups of, and I can create groups of 3, 2, 4, whatever you wanted to create. I have only programmed this set of groups in because of my labs. I don't like to have very large groups. But I typically in a lab will have groups of 3, 2, or 4. And so if you'll notice down here, this is the arrangement of my lab. And so I have islands that have, various stations on them. And so what I will do is I will say, hey, I want to create a group of 3. And it's going to auto-populate all of my lab stations now. And so one of the things that students love is to have their own partners that they want to participate with all the time. Unfortunately, that doesn't necessarily make for the best lab groups a lot of times, right? Some really great groups and then some groups where they're just not getting anything done. So this again is going to try to mix up my students in such a way where they are mixed with high participation points, low participation points, and medium participation points. So a group like this might have a high, a low, and a medium. And every group should be something like that. So they're not with their friends, which of course you're always welcome to let them be with their friends, right? But in this case, I found that this will maintain a much more balanced lab group, which allows for much greater learning. And so that is so simple and easy. And if you want to change it, you can change it. I want groups of 4 instead, right? And so now it comes through and it makes groups of 4. Now, maybe you're like, well, I don't want all of these kids in the same lab station. So you can move them and you can put them in different places. Okay, so you don't have to keep it just like it does it. It tries to space them out exactly, as even as possible. But I try to, have it programmed to set up 3, and kind of like doing every other station type of thing. But I can move those quickly. Maybe I see a problem. Maybe this student is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. I click on that little arrow. And I'm like, you know what? We're going to have you come over into another group, right? So you can have Adrian come over to this group and you can have Sawyer move over to that group. Okay, so you can move whatever kids that you need. Maybe you actually have a couple kids that are like, hey, I want to work on an extra credit kind of cool experiment right now. And you're like, well, okay, I'll let you do that with each other because that's just a fantastic idea. You can just move them onto their own and have them do their own group. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Other thing now, once I'm in the lab group, oh, and by the way, let's just actually do real quick. We can make, in my scenario, I created a scenario where you could create 2 even teams. And again, it's looking for balancing, or 3 even teams, so that you can do competitions if you want to, like, do reviews. And this one has just kind of randomly mixed them where they're not in the groups of 2 where it is, balanced, but it is, in this case, just mixed up. So it's more of a random drawing. Let's say we have now got these students in a group, and I'm like, you guys need to make sure you put away your equipment before you are done. Make sure you wash your stations down, and then come let me know when your station is done. And so what I'll do with my tablet, I'm walking around the room, and I can click on their station, and then I just click on cleaned up. What they get to see is they get to see that their station is now changed color, and it actually adds participation points up here as well to the students that are there. And so that they can get a good look at, hey, yes, I cleaned up and now I got my extra points. And so you just to the room, and with my tablet, as they clean up their stations, I just click on that. You can see, yeah, Mr. Power saw that I cleaned up my station. I can go back to my desk, kind of thing. So that's another neat feature as well. You'll notice that we have the same set of pickers here for the different groups, as well as for the points. Now, the reason I did this here is because it's much easier to access on my tablet while it's close to my lab setup. Instead of having to scroll back up here and try to find the person, I can just look at my lab arrangement, and I can be like, hey, these 2 students did a great job. They answered a really cool spontaneous question I gave them. So I'm going to give those 2 students those participation points. And so I can choose a particular group, and I can give those particular students a particular set of points. And so it's a neat way to kind of do your lab group points as well. And I don't have to go scrolling up, and I can just quickly, easily access it. I also have a flip lab button here so that it just does the same thing I did for my classroom. This is for my lab assignment, or for my lab station area. I can flip that. Oftentimes when students are trying to go to their lab, I see it from this perspective with the back of the room here, but they're looking at it from the back of the room on the other side, and so it flips it. And so when I assign them to their stations, you'll notice it goes from my south station and then my north station. And so you can see that for the students, that'll be an easier orientation for them from the back of the room. And then you can also add students too, by the way. If you had a student that wasn't actually added to the class, you had an odd number of students, or a student came in late. Here it says all present students were already in stations. If I had a student that, let's say they were not present, okay, so, but then they came in later on, Here, let's reassign those groups real quick. And so if they came in later on, you'll notice I have one student that didn't have anybody as a partner. I'm like, well, I don't want you to have to do the lab by yourself. So I move them over to another group. And then all of a sudden, the other student came in. I'm like, oh, hey, this person did not come in until just now. And so now I'm going to add them to a station. So I get to choose one of the stations. Hey, I want you to go ahead and join Taylor and Avery so that you can be a part of that group. So it's a good way to deal with the students that might be coming in a little bit late and you still want them to participate with another group. Okay, so that brings us down to the bottom here. And I think the biggest thing I want to show you with the bottom portion here, obviously we can have some of the same things like participation report. We have an export to CSV. So any of the data that you've been tracking, we'll be able to export to a CSV file. But what I have that I think is also, again, super helpful that I haven't shown you yet is this new grade. So let's say I have an assignment that I want to grade as I walk around the classroom. Maybe it's a review sheet and it's a completion grade. I just want to see that they've done everything on there. And so I can go around the room and look at it quickly and assign points to it. So I'm going to stick this with create new assignment. If I had other assignments already done, it would come up on that drop down. And in this case, I'd be like, okay, so chapter 10 review sheet. And I would put down the number of points possible. Let's say it was a 50-point assignment. And then I would hit start grading. Now what that does, it automatically triggers a mode where instead of clicking on this and having it, let them be selected to actually choose, points for, it automatically brings up a scoring mode. And so as I'm walking around the room with my tablet, I'll be able to click on their name and put in their points, right? And so on a tablet, it also brings up a calculator, not a calculator, but a numeric keypad, so that they can enter in, so you can enter in their points with that numeric keypad, and it automatically has that numeric keypad pop up, and so you're not wasting any time. It's just click on it and suddenly you can put in their points that you're giving them. Now if a student is missing, you can just click missing, not if the student missing, sorry, but if they were had an assignment that they did not do and they were missing their assignment, you could just click on the missing. Hey, they didn't do it. And you'll notice that what's happening here is it's putting in the number of points that they got, so you can double check and see if you actually entered in their values. And so that's a very helpful way to go through things as well. It also will auto-populate the absent students. And it doesn't look like it did that when I was, when I created that assignment, because I think I remembered marking Sage absent, but now Sage is present. And so that doesn't show an A there. But if it had been marked absent, when I click that button, then there would be a little A there that would show that they were absent when they were doing that. And so that's kind of a neat, quick way to go around the room and put grades in. Now, once I'm done with that, I want to hit exit grading so that it will deactivate that. And now I come back up here and it will, let me choose them to give them, those points again. Oops, sorry, I didn't press the right button. You can go back and choose. The CSV export and the export to Classroom can do those assignments that you just created. So I just created that chapter 10 review sheet. And now I could load my course, my physical science course, once I'd signed in, and then I would be able to post that assignment to Classroom. And so it automatically fills all those grades into Classroom, and then you just have to make sure that they're set to being turned in Classroom, and then you can sync them with your whatever platform like Infinite Campus or other grading platform that you have from Google Classroom. And so that's a really quick and easy feature for syncing to Classroom as well. And then your CSV export basically works. And of course, this wasn't a a full set of assignments or anything, but you can see. You might not be able to see this because I don't have it on the tab, but this CSV exports all those scores that you have, the participation points and the assignments, and it gives you the dates and the names and the points possible and everything listed as a CSV file. So it's a really fantastic tool as well. The master wipe is going to, wipe out homework like assignments that you have. It's going to say, hey, do you want to wipe everything you've got? That's kind of like a last resort, probably not going to hit that button very often. And then an instant lock button is going to kind of lock things up so that people are not able to interact with the app. Maybe you want to do something and walk away from the room and something like that. So it's going to lock things up. So anyway, that is the overview of our classroom participation and way more, right? So many different features that you can use in a classroom. It's just kind of been custom made, tailor fit for what I like to do. But I love that we now have the capability in this day and age with our technology, with AI, to be able to create something that is going to be unique to our experience and do the things that we want to do to enhance our learning and our participation and our involvement in the classroom. So I hope you enjoyed that demonstration, and I hope that will help you understand what My Classroom Helper can really do.